Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my solar journey and trying to make my house more green. So today we're not actually going to be talking about the solar panels, but we're going to be talking about this, which is my Klarstein, and I have to remember the title of this, Air Art Smart Infrared Heater. So back in September I released a video which has now about 2,300 views on it, and in that video I took delivery of this and unboxed it. We've now had it I've now put it up on the wall, and since then we've been using it. So this video is going to be the review of how it's been doing so far. So I'm going to move around to the other side of the camera and we'll continue this review. So as you can see, it does look pretty good. It's hanging just above our bed. It's 120 centimeters across by 60 centimeters high, and it has this really nice picture on it which still looks really good, so we're happy with that. As far as setting it up and installing it was concerned, it was fairly easy. So it came with 4 screws and 4 wall plugs, and this is a brick wall, so that was sufficient for this. If you've got a partition wall or stud wall, then you might have to look into other ways of hanging it, but it was effectively came with a guide. You drill 4 holes in the wall where that guide tells you to drill. You put the wall plugs in and you screw the screws in, and then on the back of this is a little square with 4 corresponding holes that slot onto those screws. It then slides it along and secures it in place. So it was very simple to put it on the wall. As far as then setting it up and turning it on, this is where we do have a couple of problems and a couple of things that I would probably ask Klarstein to look into. First of all, the control unit is on the side here, and you can see the box with the flex coming out of it. This flex is very short, it's about 1.5 meters, so it's fine if you have a plug somewhere in the vicinity of this side of the paper of the picture. Not so good if you don't have a plug anywhere else. You'd have to use an extension lead. I suppose you could cut that flex down and install it into the wall if you have a power going through the wall, so you can hardwire it in. Or I'm assuming you can take that box in the back apart and also put a longer flex on if you wanted to. But again, I wouldn't want to know how that affects the warranty or the safety of the product. So I think probably a longer flex would be desirable. The other problem we have with this is, if I can show you under here, this is where the switch that turns the unit on is situated. It's where that black tape is, because the switch is a simple tilt switch, but it's got an inbuilt light, and it is brighter than the sun. It's a really bright white-blue light. So if you're planning on installing one of this in the bedroom, you probably have to do what we did and cover it up with black tape, otherwise you're not going to sleep with that light on. It, as I say, it is very, very bright, and it's not really necessary either, because that's the overall unit power, so that light will be on all the time. So I don't know how much energy that would use as a light. I'm assuming it's an LED, so not much, but it's really not necessary, because you know if the unit is got power going to, because you have this little display on the side, and if that display is showing something, then the power is on. So this is the inbuilt control for it. You can turn the heater on by pressing the power button, which is at the top, and whenever you do anything on this, it gives quite a reassuring beep. There's the beep. So that's on. So then the display lights up a bit brighter and then dies back down again. You've got controls to turn the temperature up and down. There's a control there to test the Wi-Fi and control the timer. So you can control everything from the side of the unit. But it's much easier to use the app, which I'll come on to later. So the way that this works is that you set it to the temperature that you want the room to heat up to. So we've got it set to 19 degrees. So if it detects, and I have no idea how it senses what the ambient temperature is, if the temperature is lower than what you've set it to, or your set point, it will then turn on and continue heating the room until that temperature has been reached. It will then click off and as soon as the temperature drops back down again, it will start heating up again until it goes through. So it'll go through ranges of cycles. One thing that we have noticed with this is that it heats up very, very quickly. So even though I've only just turned it on, I can already feel the warmth starting to come off it, and it's only been a few seconds. So if I'm standing this far away, which is about 1.5 meters, 2 meters away, I can already feel that heat radiating off and it's warming up. And it is a nice temperature, so it's much faster than a conventional convection radiator to heat you up. But it does take quite a long time to actually heat a whole room. What it also does is this is a 750 watt model, so whenever it's emitting heat, it will be using 750 watts of power, or 0.75 kilowatt hours if you left it running for a whole hour and it was warming up the room. But once it does heat up the room, it does maintain the temperature quite nicely. And often what we've found is we just need to have it on for a few minutes just to warm us up and warm the bed up. What we've done is we have tilted it down slightly towards the bed so it warms just the bed up. And the way we've done that is by unscrewing the top screws very slightly, which allows it to tilt forward on the bracket. So it does produce a very nice heat. What it also comes with is this remote control, which basically is a copy of the control panel on the side. And as we tend not to use the remote control, we've tended to use the app. So we'll talk more about the app when I get downstairs and I can show you some screenshots of it. So back downstairs, and I'll just talk you through the app of the heater. So the heater, that infrared heater, is smart, and to control it you can use the Klarstein app, which can work on both Android and Apple. So I use Android, and it was easy to download the app. And once you've downloaded the app, then you can link it to the appliance. So that was fairly simple. You just turn your Bluetooth up on your phone, and then from there you can connect it to the internet. I did have a few problems with this, and I did know about this problem early on, and I totally forgot about it, and that is that it only works with a 2G Wi-Fi signal. So if you have a 5G bandwidth running throughout your house, you can't use that, which was a problem for us. So we've got PlusNet. We have a PlusNet router which then plugs into a Google Home mesh system. So we have a Google Wi-Fi network around, which is 5G only. So I had to use the internet from the PlusNet router. So that's what that's connected to. So providing you use the 2G Wi-Fi signal, you'll be fine. Once you have the app, you'll see a screen which, once mine's loaded, will look something like this. To turn it on is as simple as just pressing the on button on the side. So now the heater's on, that on button has turned green, so the heater is on. So if I want to just turn the heater on and off, I can just use that. This app also allows you to schedule your devices, so I'll throw up a screenshot of the scheduling. So we have it set to come on for half an hour before we go to bed. So it comes on about 10 to 10 each night and goes off about 20 past 10, and that's enough to give that room sufficient warmth just to be pleasant. So the app is quite basic, but it works well. You can set up it to come on multiple times per day. You can set it to come on certain days, so you have a lot of control over the scheduling of the app. And if you get more heaters, you just add them onto the actual app, and then you can control them individually from there. So my overall thoughts of the that Klarstein infrared heater is that I like it. It does its job. It's meaning that we don't have to have the radiator, which is connected to a gas-powered boiler, on in there. We can just use that heater, and we can use our solar and battery energy to power it when we want to put it on for a quick boost. It also works well if we're home in the afternoon and we want to just warm up the bedroom, because again we are just using the solar power from that, and it gives a very instant heat. One thing I didn't mention is that the surface of it does get very, very hot, so you don't want to be touching that while it is on. So just something to be a little bit wary of. So as far as my experience with Klarstein goes, there are a few problems. I would suggest putting a longer flex on it, and then maybe having something around the back which allows you just to coil it up if you're not using the excess. So that would make it a far more usable product in more situations. Swap that switch for one without a light in, because one, it's not necessary, and two, it's really annoying. And also, hopefully, Klarstein over time will start developing some products or a range where you're allowed to print your own design onto the top of them. So we would quite like to get this picture behind printed on one. There are companies out there that do them, but they're far more expensive than the Klarstein product. So finally, a bit of a disclaimer about this video. I'm not sponsored by Klarstein. This is my own personal opinions of how mine has been working. So hopefully you'll get an unbiased response. So for us, it's working well. Obviously, it all depends on what your situation is and what you want from it, well, whether it will work for you. As far as energy efficiency goes, that's again dependent on the room. That product is designed for a 16 by 16 square meter room, a 16 square meter room, so a 4 by 4 meters, 4 by 4 meter square room, and it just about does that room upstairs. That room is a little bit bigger than that. It's a little bit longer, but a little bit narrower, so it swings and roundabouts from that. But if I'm right at the far end by the window, the heat does struggle to radiate out that far. So you may want to have more in your house from that. So if in doubt, I'd probably contact the company and ask them what they want, what they suggest. Obviously, you can also mount these type of heaters to the roof. If they're a picture-based one, then they can't. Then probably doesn't make sense to mount them to the roof, or change the orientation of the mounting, so you can't make that be long ways. Well, I suppose you could, but it would look a bit strange. They do plain white, which would be suitable for that. And for the actual price we paid for it, which was £160, then I think it's actually been quite good. I'll probably come back to this review in a few months after we've used it throughout the winter here in the UK and see how it goes. Anyway, hopefully you'll find this review useful. I think it's one of the only ones I can find. I haven't been able to find many others on YouTube, so hopefully you'll find this review useful, and it will inform whether you actually want to purchase one of these in the future.